Howdy, howdy, bowl. Now, how is everyone? It is Monday, February 10th, and it is time for a very special Mantra Monday. Lights, action, camera. Today is the appearance day of Nityananda Prabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. I have missed doing these Mantra Mondays. When I don't do these Mantra Mondays, I get into what we call Maya. I get depressed, everything just seems kind of overwhelming because the reality is life without spiritual life is a drag. Now, somewhere on here, I am looking for my Gmail because I want to read you. This email that I got, which inspired me to come on here and do this live stream. So apparently, the full moon is really going to be on February 12th, but I guess we were calculating this particular holiday. I'm going to guess that it is, based on the lunar calendar calculated from India, perhaps from Delhi. This is a little bit of a speculation on my part, but so be it. And this past week or so, there have actually been so many Vaishnava holidays, and every day I've been like, Madhavendra Puri, Ramanujacharya, Varaha. So I just said to myself, I cannot skip this. I could not skip this today. All right. So Nityananda Triyodashi, appearance of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So we're just going to get right into it, and I'll try and post a link later, although Facebook is sometimes you post links and then they take them down because they're suspicious. So what's going to be coming up after this is Caitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance day, and of course Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the yuga avatar of Krishna. So I think you're going to find this super, super interesting. Okay, so the lecture I am reading from by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Here is some nectar about Nityananda Prabhu. Okay. Lord Nityananda is the eternal associate of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Rarely is the name Nimai, which is another name for Caitanya Mahaprabhu, is taken without that of Nitai, or Lord Nityananda. So it says, Mahaprabhu cannot be approached or understood without the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, who is the cardinal guru of all the universes and serves as an intermediary between Mahaprabhu and his devotees. He is the Lord's active principle in both creation and lila. So for the creation and lila means pastimes, the manifest pastimes, the play, the divine play of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which reminds me, actually, the other day was the appearance day of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya is none other than Mahavishnu. So this all may sound pretty esoteric, but this is all very, very interesting and very nectarian. Getting back to Nityananda Prabhu, he is the Lord's active principle in both creation and lila. He is a second body of the Lord, manifesting as Balaram to Sri Krishna, as Lakshman to Sri Ram, and Nityananda Prabhu to Caitanya Mahaprabhu. All other forms and expansions of the Lord emanate from this second body. Nityananda Prabhu is thus the source of Sankarshan, all the Vishnus, and Ananta Sesha. As Vishnu Tattva, he and Advaita Acharya are worshipped in the same category as Caitanya Mahaprabhu. In the manifest earthly lila, Nityananda Prabhu is senior to Caitanya Mahaprabhu by more than a decade. He is statuesque, with the whitish complexion of Lord Balaram. His garments resemble a cluster of blue lotus flowers, and his effulgence is said to surpass the grandeur of a rising moon at sunset. He has a deep melodious voice, constantly singing the glories of Sri Krishna, and carries a red stick with benedictions for devotees, but feared by the demoniac. He has the carefree mood of a wild avaduta. So absorbed is he in the love of Godhead, and no one knows what he will do next. Nityananda Prabhu was born in Ekacakra, a small village in present West Bengal, around the year 1474. His birth site is commemorated by a temple named Garbhasva and is visited by throngs of pilgrims today. His father, Hadaj Oha, and mother, Padmavati, were pious Brahmins originally from Matilla. Nityananda Prabhu was born on the auspicious 13th day of the bright fortnight of the month of Magha. As a child, Nitai, as Nityananda Prabhu was called, loved to enact the pastimes of Sri Krishna or Lord Ram. He did this so authoritatively and with such rapture that the entire village would be immersed in the love of Godhead. All right, I'm going to slow down a little bit here and break this down. Okay, so the birthday or the appearance we're celebrating today is literally the first expansion of God, the first expansion of Sri Krishna. His name is Nityananda, but he's also known by other names. If you're into the pastimes of Ramachandra and Hanuman, then you will know him as Lakshman. If you understand the pastimes of Lord Krishna, then you will know him as Balaram, right? So to explain how God works, whenever God wants to perform a different activity, right? It could be a lila, it could be a divine activity, right? Or it could be something more mundane for the maintenance of the material world. He expands himself. But his expansion is non-different from himself, from the original. So Srila Prabhupada would explain that if you have a candle, right? This is a crude example, but the original candle, right, that's lighting the other candle, there's no difference, right? There's no difference in that flame. It is just like the original. Or now, we become very familiar probably with this concept of like twin flames, right? Same soul, different body, same heart, different body. So this is it, right? This is one of the incredible features of God, that he can do this type of thing. So it's explaining his bodily beauty. So Nityananda Prabhu, he has got the same complexion as Lord Balaram. Caitanya Prabhu has got a golden complexion. It says his complexion is like molten gold, like Srimati Radharani, because the whole purpose of Caitanya Nitai is to begin the Sankirtan movement on this earth planet, to drown all the residents on this earth planet in pure love of God, because we're living in a very, very turbulent, violent age full of hypocrisy and full of quarrel. So the whole idea is to go back home simply by singing and dancing. And if you're wondering what I've got on my forehead, This is Vaishnava tilak. You might have seen Willow wearing this Vaishnava tilak when she did her NPR Tiny Desk, and I would like to thank Willow for giving me the courage to wear my own tilak today. So this is actually a symbol of Lord Vishnu also. So the idea is when we wear such a symbol, it actually reminds other people of Lord Vishnu. And I don't know what is up with this little light, but it is not cooperating. It is going on and off today. That's okay. All right, we're going to keep going. So to continue on, getting into the earthly pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu, something that we may be able to more readily grasp. So again, he appeared in the year 1474. So for the Western calendar, this is the beginning of the Renaissance. It is considered just that because Lord Nityananda and Lord Caitanya appeared during this time period, there was also a great flowering of culture all over the world. It talks about his parents, and it also talks about how Lord Nityananda Prabhu was already displaying these divine pastimes as a young child in this village, and that he would be busy acting out Krishna lila, or that he was busy acting out pastimes as Lakshman, as Lord Ram. And he was in such a rapture of this, and because he actually is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the whole village was in ecstasy and drowning in this mood. Nitai's favorite part was that of Lakshman, and he enacted it with so many apparently authentic scenes not described in the Ramayana that people would wonder if he was making it up or actually relishing his own pastimes. The village of Ekacakra was completely absorbed in the love of little Nitai, where he spent the first 12 years of his earthly life. In the 13th year, a traveling sannyasi, said to be the famous Lakshmipati Tirtha, enchanted by Nitai's devotion and service, requested Nitai from his parents as a traveling companion. His parents, bound by Vedic culture, could not refuse the request of a guest and reluctantly parted with Nitai. However, devastated by the separation with Nitai, that Hriday Pandit soon gave up his life. So for the intimate devotees of the Lord, they literally cannot stand to be separated from the Lord, because they are always, absorbed in pure love of Godhead. There's never a time where they forget who they are. We forget who we are, but the transcendental devotees of the Lord, they never forget who they are. They always know who they are. And it's always a very intense relationship with them, with the Lord. But because there was etiquette, because there's etiquette in Vaishnava culture in India, if a saintly person would come, of course, you would offer them different things, or they might beg some alms, right? But in this case, a saintly person was so enamored with Nitai, he requested, as a traveling mendicant, could Nitai come with him? So the etiquette is you give, you don't say no. This is something that is very hard for us to understand here. And also, for us in our modern minds, this brings up so many different issues, right? Is it okay to let that kid go? But this is another time and place and space, and it's to be understood that all these activities that the Lord is performing are part of his manifest pastime. So they are on another level. So we should just try and listen and try and absorb these and become purified in heart by listening to these different pastimes. So Nitai traveled with Lakshmipati Tirtha for about 20 years, during which he visited all the holy places in the country, reminiscent of the manner that Balaram traveled while the battle at Kurukshetra raged on. Nitai is said to be later on initiated by Lakshmi Tirtha. He also associated with another of Lakshmi Tirtha's famous disciples, Madhavendra Puri, who, although his godbrother, was revered by Nitai as a spiritual master. Madhavendra Puri is famous for establishing the sweet truth of Madhura Rasa, which later became an integral part of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Among the other disciples of Madhavendra Puri is Advaita Acharya and Ishvara Puri, the spiritual master of Caitanya Mahaprabhu. So now we're getting into, spiritual lineage and the disciple-teacher relationship here. So this is noteworthy, right? So you can see here that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is setting the example by taking initiation from a spiritual master, right? By respecting that. So this gives an example to us, because so many times in the West, we grow up with this mentality that, oh, we have a teacher, but one day I'm going to surpass the teacher. One day I'm going to step on the head of the teacher, right? And become greater than my teacher. But in Vaishnava tradition, there's always the mood of service, always the mood of servitude, because it's like a family, right? It's a family affair. So if your mother and your father are irreplaceable, right? Okay, so moving on. So in other words, Nityananda Prabhu, he met Caitanya Mahaprabhu in 1506 when he was 32 years old, and Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord, was 20 years old. So it's noteworthy that Balaram, Nitai, right? They appear a little bit before the Lord does, because the role is like the elder brother, is protective, right? So this is very sweet. You'd say, well, why does God need protection, right? God is God. God is all powerful. God is all beautiful. God has all strength, all renunciation, right? But because the Lord is the source of all rasas, because the Lord is a source of all relationships, right? He is also manifesting these different types of moods and different relationships with his expansions and with his different devotees. This is the sweetness of devotional service. These are loving pastimes. They say God is love, but what's wonderful about Vaishnavism, this literature, this bhakti yoga, is that it really gives us very intimate insights into what exactly that looks like. Nothing is vague. Just like when Krishna is performing his manifest pastimes in Vrindavan, he has a mother, he has a father, right? Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, right? Balaram, and also his friend is Balaram, and then he's got relationships with the gopis. He's got a relationship with Srimati Radharani. So here is also pointing out that because of Madhavendra Puri, these pastimes of Madhurya Ras became, how shall I say, known. So in other words, previous to Madhavendra Puri, we were not worshiping Sri Sri Radha Krishna. That was not really available. But because of Madhavendra Puri, and also because Lord Chaitanya comes in the mood of Srimati Radharani, right? Comes in the mood of this pure, selfless love. As the queen of devotion, this was introduced. As I said, this is all pretty deep, and this is all really pretty esoteric, but it's also very nectarian. Even if you don't understand everything, it's wonderful to listen to, people today were so much absorbed in, the scandals of, the rich and famous and different celebrities and Hollywood and all of that. And, we don't understand everything, right? But we love to listen to the stories. We love to become absorbed in that. But as a soul, our original concern is actually understanding the pastimes of the Supreme Lord and his associates and the role that we have in it. So everything that we do in this material world actually is a perverted reflection of what is going on in the spiritual world and what our soul is really craving and really desiring, right? So if we're not fortunate enough, right, to be aware of these things, then we'll make something up. It's almost like we have a case of amnesia here, right? We kind of know, but we can't quite remember. So we'll make up facsimiles of things to try and satisfy that deep craving that our soul has for deep relationships. Okay. It is said that when Nityananda Prabhu reached the land of Nadia, the house of Nandanacharya, to heighten the ecstasy of meeting through separation. Oh, excuse me. It said that when he reached the land of Nadia, Nita, he actually hid. He hid in the house of Nandanacharya to heighten the ecstasy of meeting through separation Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Aware of the arrival of his eternal associate, dispatched Haridas Thakur and Srivas Pandit to search out Nitai, but they failed. Finally, unable to bear the separation any longer, Caitanya Mahaprabhu himself went directly to Nityananda Prabhu, and the ecstasy of the meeting was so transcendental that everyone witnessing it was awed by the sublime experience. A temple called Sri Gaura Nityananda commemorates this meeting place in Nadia. So, okay, so what's one of the most exciting things for us in a relationship? We've been separated. We've been separated from our loved ones. We've been separated from our mother, our father, our sister, our brothers, or even more than that, we've been separated from our boyfriend, our girlfriend, our paramour. And we know that they're coming to visit us, and we are waiting for that with great, great, great anticipation, right? And, finally getting to meet them, that just makes us so happy, right? That's like everything. So again, as is above, so is below. So Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Lord himself. He knows everything. He knows that Nityananda Prabhu is coming to meet him. You could say that Nityananda Prabhu is literally his divine counterpart. I mean, they are literally one and the same, right? But they have separated, as you were, to enact this pastime. Because, the Lord likes to hang out with people that are on his level, on the same frequency, as we would say. So at any rate, so this little game is going on, right? Where Nityananda knows that Caitanya is waiting for him, but just to increase the anticipation, he hides, right? And so finally, as I've kind of explained before, this kind of separation, it's literally unbearable. When we are living at that level and we are living at that level of love, we literally cannot stand being separated from our beloveds, from our soul family, from our spiritual family, I guess is another way I could explain this. Okay, so they finally meet, and you can go and visit that temple today, their meeting place in Nadia. It's called the Sri Gaura Nityananda Temple. Okay, so Nityananda Prabhu, in his role as the original spiritual master, was instrumental in spreading the yuga dharma of Sankirtan all over Gauda Desh, otherwise known as Bengal and Orissa. His mercy knew no bounds, and people fortunate to come in contact with him were inundated with the love of Godhead. It was by his mercy that Raghunath Das, one of the 6 Goswamis, started the famous Danda Mahotsava festival of Panihati, a tradition that continues to this day. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is a chipped rice festival, and there is a great explanation of this chipped rice festival in the Caitanya Charitamrita. It is a wonderful, wonderful description. The other sort of nickname for the Hare Krishnas or the Vaishnavism is the kitchen religion, because there's always a lot of food and a lot of cooking involved and a lot of feasting. So perhaps one day I can read you that story of the Chipped Rice Festival. The Chipped Rice Festival. Okay. He extended his mercy to even fallen souls like Jagai and Madai, delivering them from the sinful lives and protecting them from the wrath of even Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Indeed, his mercy knew no bounds, and fortunate were the people who tasted the nectar of his instructions. So another name for Nityananda Prabhu is Patita Pavana, which means that he extends his mercy to the most fallen. So I have told you in the past about Jagai and Madai, but just to briefly recap, Jagai and Madai were actually born in Brahminical families, but because they got off the straight and narrow path and got involved with some bad people on the wrong side of town, they quickly fell down. They gave it up, they lost control, and they actually became gangsters. They became gangsters. They were dacoits, they were thieves, they were terrorizing people, they were engaging in all kinds of sinful activity. And when Nityananda Prabhu, approached them and asked them to chant, right, the holy name, one of the brothers picked up a clay shard and threw it at Nitai, which cut his forehead and drew blood. So Nitai, of course, as a preacher, when you're preaching to people, you expect that you are going to meet with some resistance. And sometimes the resistance is going to be violent, but you take the humble position. However, the news spread like wildfire across town. And when Caitanya Mahaprabhu heard this, he became transcendently angry and rushed to the place and manifested his Sudarshan Chakra. Sudarshan Chakra is a transcendental weapon. It's a transcendental disc. And essentially, it can just decapitate anyone who is fortunate or unfortunate, right, to meet that end. And so as the story goes, when Nityananda Prabhu saw Lord Chaitanya manifest his Sudarshan Chakra, which he would do in the pastime as Lord Sri Krishna, he said, "No, my Lord, no. This is not what we have come here to do. We have come here in the most fallen age. We have come here in Kali Yuga, where people are drunkards and they're very degraded and they're addicted to sex life and drugs, and they're lost. They're lost spiritually. So if you do this, our whole mission will be defeated." So Caitanya Mahaprabhu was pacified by this and, of course, obeyed Nityananda Prabhu, right? So these kinds of occurrences that happen, right, in divine lila are all there to instruct us and to make us understand where we are at, the level that we are at, and to understand the depths of the Lord's mercy. So that's a little recap of the spiritual compassion, mercy, and elevated position of Nityananda Prabhu. Okay, moving on. When Nityananda Prabhu returned to Bengal at the request of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he decided to abandon his avaduta status and become a grahasta, or a householder. He married Janavi Devi and Vasudha, the 2 daughters of Surya Das Sarakel, who, the brother of Gauradas Pandit, an intimate associate of Caitanya Mahaprabhu and the spiritual master of the famous Shyamananda Pandit. Nityananda Prabhu had a son whose name was Veer Chandara, and a daughter, Ganga Devi, from Vasudha. Soon after Vasudha passed away, and Janavi Devi looked after the children. She later initiated Veer Chandra and also became an instructing spiritual master to the likes of Shyamananda Pandit, Srivas Pandit, and Narottam Das Thakur. Janavi Devi is revered as a Vaishnavi, and she established the preeminent position of women in the Vaishnava tradition. So, this is to be understood that Janavi, let me read this again. He married Janavi Devi in Vasudha. Okay, so it's Vasudha that passed away first, and so it was Janavi Devi. Okay, so Janavi Devi, she is the consort, she is the wife of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So she is the wife of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means that she is also God, right? She is, became the guru, became the instructing spiritual master. So there are two types of spiritual masters, right? There's the initiating spiritual master, one who actually takes on the burden of your karma and initiates you into the chanting of the holy name. But then you can also have different instructing spiritual masters, right? Who can help you advance in devotional service. So she was such a person. So I know that you're not familiar with all the different names that were listed here, but I can tell you that Shyamananda Pandit, Srivas Pandit, and Narottam Das Thakur are very, very elevated personalities in the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. As a matter of fact, I believe, okay, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to say that. There is the Panchatattva. The Panchatattva consists of Caitanya, Nitai, Advaita, Srinivas, and is it Narottam? Yes. So this is all very, there's a lot of examples being set here. There's a lot of examples being set here, which basically is, if in the spiritual world, if God, the Godhead, and his different aspects and different manifestations can accept a spiritual master, what to speak of us who aren't even liberated, right? Okay, so let's conclude here. Lord Nityananda wound up his earthly pastimes by merging into the deity of Krishna, known as Bankim Ray, not far from Ekacakra. Vaishnava acharyas emphatically state that people who try to understand Caitanya Mahaprabhu without getting the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu will never succeed, and one must pray very sincerely to Lord Nityananda Prabhu as the Adi Guru, or the original spiritual master, to be delivered to the lotus feet of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The presence of Nityananda Prabhu is always felt in the presence of one's own guru, for the guru is considered to be the living manifestation of Nityananda Prabhu's love and mercy, and his Shakti, or power, is spiritual power, of course, is what gives the disciple the ability to perform devotional service and experience spiritual bliss. So this was Lord Nityananda Prabhu's Avirbhava Appearance Day lecture that was given in Bhubaneswar on February 2nd, 1977. Then there are some different Sanskrit, there's actually the lecture follows. So everything previous to this was the background, and the lecture actually follows this, which was given on this day. I think that I'm going to stop here because I have been speaking for quite some time. Tony Jones, my brother, my love and my condolences to you, my friend. Truly, I'm gonna have to give you a call, see how you're doing. You've been on my mind. I believe that I am going to stop here because I think that the article really did an excellent job of giving a spiritual historical context to Nityananda about the significance of this day, his parentage, where he was born, his ecstasy, his pilgrimage, his very, very close relationship with Caitanya Mahaprabhu, his mercy, the propagation of the Sankirtan movement, and of course, also the importance of women in Vaishnava culture, the power and the strength of Janavi Devi, who mentored so many great personalities in Bhakti Yoga. We understood a little bit about a festival, the Chipped Rice Festival that was started, that was inspired by Nityananda Prabhu, that we can still go to this day. Maybe one of these days we can all take a trip to India together and I could take you to such a thing. I would love to do that. And of course, the conclusion of Lord Nityananda wrapping up his manifest pastimes by merging into the deity of Bankim Roy. And again, the emphasis on how Nityananda Prabhu or Lord Balaram is considered to be the original guru, the Adi Guru, right? Some other fun facts about Lord Balaram is that he is actually said to be suspending all the planets in the universe, right? So the universe is actually a very magical, mystical place if we have the eyes and the ears to understand that and to have an open heart. I want to thank you for watching this, Tony. I want to thank you for being here. And I've missed you all very much. I've missed doing this because I had a very crazy schedule last year where I was like literally working pretty much every day, practically for an entire year. I finally just got a break the beginning of January where I was so tired from working so much that I actually caught a cold. So I couldn't perform. So I'm going to try and work something out here where maybe I could at least do something maybe once a month and do perhaps a condensation of all the highlights, of the month. There is a big festival coming up. Another one, Chaitanya's Appearance Day is going to be coming up. And there's going to be a big festival over in the temple in Brooklyn, but then there's going to be another festival at the temple over in the East Village on 2nd Avenue. So I'll let you at least know about that. And who knows, maybe one of you will join me and come with me and just sing and dance and stuff our faces with some very, very good prasadam, some transcendental vegetarian food. So I love you. Namaste. And have a great rest of your night and have a great rest of your week. Hare Krishna.